World War II was the deadliest conflict in human history, and the weapons that defined it changed warfare forever. From the skies to the seas, from the frozen Eastern Front to the Pacific Islands, certain weapons proved themselves to be absolute game changers. Today, we're counting down the top 10 best weapons of World War II, the tools that won battles, terrified enemies, and left a lasting legacy on military technology. Let's jump in. Number 10. The Katyusha rocket launcher. Kicking off our list is a weapon the Germans nicknamed Stalin's organ because of its terrifying shrieking sound. The Katyusha was a multiple rocket launcher mounted on trucks, and it could unleash absolute devastation in seconds. Here's what made it special. It could fire 16 to 48 rockets in just 7 to 10 seconds, saturating entire areas with high explosives. The psychological effect was massive. Soldiers described the sound as demonic, and the sight of dozens of rockets streaking through the sky was enough to break morale before they even hit. The Katyusha was mobile, relatively cheap to produce, and perfectly suited to Soviet military doctrine of overwhelming firepower. While it wasn't accurate enough to hit specific targets, that wasn't the point. It was designed for area saturation, and it excelled at that. Soviet forces used it to devastating effect throughout the war, particularly during major offensives on the Eastern Front. Number 9. The Browning M2.50 caliber machine gun. Designed by legendary gunsmith John Browning in 1918 and perfected by 1921, the M2.50 cal, affectionately known as Ma Deuce, became one of the most versatile weapons of WW2. And here's the kicker, it's still in service today, over 100 years later. This beast could do everything. Mounted on vehicles, it shredded infantry and light vehicles. On aircraft, it tore through enemy fighters. As an anti-aircraft gun, it could reach targets other weapons couldn't. It even proved effective against light armor. The .50 BMG round it fired was devastating, capable of punching through concrete walls and light armor. American forces mounted it on jeeps, tanks, half-tracks, and bombers. The B-17 Flying Fortress carried up to 13 M2s for defensive firepower. Its reliability was legendary. It could fire in desert heat, Arctic cold, tropical humidity, you name it. Soldiers trusted it completely, and that trust was well earned. Number 8. The Panzerfaust. Germany's answer to the Soviet tank onslaught, the Panzerfaust was a disposable anti-tank weapon that put serious firepower in the hands of individual soldiers. Think of it as the grandfather of modern anti-tank weapons like the RPG. What made the Panzerfaust brilliant was its simplicity. It was cheap, easy to manufacture, and required minimal training. A single soldier could hide in rubble, pop out, and disable a multi-ton tank with one shot. It used a shaped charge that could penetrate up to 200 millimeters of armor, enough to threaten even heavy Soviet tanks. By 1945, Germany was producing these by the millions. They were issued to Hitler Youth, old men in the Volkssturm, basically anyone who could hold one. While this speaks to Germany's desperate situation late in the war, it also demonstrates how effective the weapon was. Allied tankers learned to fear the Panzerfaust, especially in urban combat where ambushes were easy. The Panzerfaust's design influenced post-war anti-tank weapons worldwide, cementing its legacy as a game-changing innovation. Number 7. The M1 Garand rifles. General George S. Patton called it the greatest battle implement ever devised, and American infantrymen would probably agree. The M1 Garand was the first semi-automatic rifle to be standard issue for an entire army, giving American troops a massive advantage in firepower. While enemies were working bolt-action rifles, American soldiers could fire 8 rounds as fast as they could pull the trigger. In a firefight, this rate-of-fire advantage was often the difference between life and death. The Garand was accurate up to 500 yards, reliable in all conditions, and rugged enough to survive the brutal conditions of both European and Pacific theaters. It fired the powerful 30-06 cartridge, which had excellent stopping power and range. The en-bloc clip system, while sometimes criticized for the distinctive ping sound it made when empty, allowed for relatively fast reloading. American forces armed with Garands consistently outgunned enemies in infantry engagements. The Japanese, armed with bolt-action Arisaka rifles, found themselves at a severe disadvantage. German soldiers, many still using Kar 98K bolt actions, faced similar problems. The M1 Garand remained in service through the Korean War and influenced rifle design for decades. Number 6. The T-34 tank. Many historians consider the T-34 the best tank of World War II, and for good reason. It combined firepower, armor, mobility, and most importantly, mass production in a way no other tank matched. When it appeared on the Eastern Front in 1941, German tank crews were shocked. The T-34's sloped armor made it incredibly difficult to penetrate. Its wide tracks gave it excellent mobility in mud and snow, where German tanks got stuck. The 76mm gun could knock out most German tanks at the time. But here's what really made it special. The Soviets built over 84,000 of them. While German tanks like the Tiger and Panther were technically superior in many ways, they were complicated, expensive, and broke down frequently. The T-34 was relatively simple, easy to manufacture, and reliable enough for undertrained crews to operate. Soviet doctrine was about overwhelming numbers and acceptable losses. The T-34 was perfect for this. They could lose 3 T-34s to every German tank and still come out ahead because they could build them faster than Germany could destroy them. The T-34's influence on tank design was enormous. After the war, it became the basis for Soviet tank development and exported to dozens of countries, seeing combat well into the 21st century. Number 5. The MG-42 machine gun. The MG-42, or Hitler's buzzsaw, earned its nickname from its absolutely insane rate of fire, 1,200 rounds per minute. That's 20 rounds per second. The sound was distinctive and terrifying, and Allied soldiers learned to dread it. This weapon fundamentally changed how machine guns were used. Previous machine guns were heavy, water-cooled, and relatively slow firing. The MG-42 was lighter, air-cooled, and could be quickly moved by a two-man team. It used a revolutionary design that made it easy to manufacture despite its complexity. The barrel could be changed in seconds when it overheated, allowing sustained fire that could pin down entire platoons. In defensive positions, a single MG-42 nest could hold up an attack by superior numbers. American and British troops often needed tanks or artillery to eliminate MG-42 positions because infantry assaults were simply too costly. Its general-purpose design meant it could be used on a bipod for infantry support, on a tripod for sustained fire, or mounted on vehicles and aircraft. This versatility made it incredibly valuable. After the war, the MG-42's design was refined into the MG-3, which is still in service with several militaries today. That's a testament to how revolutionary the design was.
Number 4. The Supermarine Spitfire. The Spitfire isn't just one of the best weapons of WW2, it's an icon. This fighter aircraft became the symbol of British resistance during the Battle of Britain, and for good reason. Powered by the legendary Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, the Spitfire combined speed, maneuverability, and firepower in an elegant package. Its elliptical wings weren't just beautiful, they were aerodynamically efficient, giving the Spitfire exceptional turning ability. In dogfights, this agility was crucial. During the Battle of Britain in 1940, Spitfires and Hurricanes defended Britain against the German Luftwaffe. While Hurricanes actually shot down more enemy aircraft, the Spitfire handled the German Bf-109 fighters, while Hurricanes went after bombers. This division of labor worked brilliantly. The Spitfire was constantly upgraded throughout the war, with more powerful engines, better armament, and improved performance. By war's end, late-model Spitfires could compete with the best fighters on either side. Pilots loved flying it. The controls were responsive, the visibility was excellent, and it could take punishment and keep flying. Mentally, knowing you were in a Spitfire gave British pilots confidence, and that psychological edge mattered. More than 20,000 Spitfires were built, serving in every theater of the war. It remains one of the most recognizable and beloved aircraft in history. Number 3. The atomic bomb. This one might be controversial, but there's no denying the atomic bomb's impact. It didn't just end World War II, it changed warfare and global politics forever. The Manhattan Project brought together the greatest scientific minds of the era to create a weapon of unprecedented destructive power. On August 6, 1945, Little Boy destroyed Hiroshima. 3 days later, Fat Man devastated Nagasaki. The results were horrifying. Over 200,000 people killed, most instantly or within days. The bombs accomplished their strategic goal. Japan surrendered on August 15, 1945, ending the war without the need of Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of Japan that would have cost hundreds of thousands of Allied casualties and potentially millions of Japanese lives. But the atomic bomb's legacy extends far beyond World War II. It ushered in the nuclear age, fundamentally changing international relations. The concept of mutually assured destruction defined the Cold War. Nuclear weapons made total war between superpowers unthinkable because it would mean annihilation for everyone. From a purely military effectiveness standpoint, no weapon in WW2 had a greater immediate strategic impact than the atomic bomb. 2 weapons ended a war that had killed tens of millions. That's undeniable power. Number 2. The U-boat. Germany's U-boat fleet, particularly the Type 7, nearly brought Britain to its knees. These submarines waged a campaign of destruction in the Atlantic that came dangerously close to cutting Britain off from supplies and forcing a surrender. The Type 7 U-boat was the workhorse of the German submarine fleet. It was relatively small, maneuverable, and carried 14 torpedoes plus deck guns. Operating in wolf packs, groups of U-boats would coordinate attacks on Allied convoys, overwhelming escorts, and sinking dozens of ships. At the height of the Battle of the Atlantic, U-boats were sinking ships faster than the Allies could build them. In 1942 alone, U-boats sank over 1,000 Allied ships. Britain was losing the race. If the U-boats had succeeded in cutting the Atlantic lifeline, Britain would have been unable to feed its population or continue the war. What stopped them was a combination of factors: improved convoy tactics, long-range patrol aircraft, better sonar and depth charges, and crucially, the breaking of German naval codes. But even with all these advantages, the Allies paid a heavy price. Over 3,500 Allied merchant ships and 175 warships were sunk by U-boats during the war. The U-boat demonstrated the strategic power of submarine warfare and influenced naval doctrine for the rest of the 20th century. Number 1. The aircraft carrier.
The #1 spot goes to the weapons system that revolutionized naval warfare and proved decisive in multiple theaters: the aircraft carrier. Before WW2, battleships ruled the seas. Massive floating fortresses with huge guns defined naval power. Then came December 7, 1941, when Japanese carrier aircraft devastated the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor without a single Japanese surface ship coming within sight of Hawaii. In that moment, everything changed. Carrier aircraft allowed naval forces to project power hundreds of miles beyond the horizon. They combined mobility, offensive capability, and flexibility in ways no other weapon system could match. Carrier-based aircraft could scout for enemy forces, attack ships, support amphibious landings, and defend the fleet. The Battle of Midway in June 1942 proved the carrier's dominance. 4 Japanese carriers were sunk in a single day by American carrier aircraft, shifting the balance of power in the Pacific permanently. The battle was decided entirely by aircraft. The opposing surface fleets never came within gun range of each other. American industrial might produced carriers at an astonishing rate. Essex-class fleet carriers, Independence-class light carriers, and dozens of escort carriers gave the U.S. Navy overwhelming superiority. By war's end, the U.S. had over 100 carriers of various types. In the Pacific, carriers were essential for the island-hopping campaign. They provided air cover for invasions, struck Japanese bases, and hunted enemy ships. Without carriers, the U.S. could not have projected power across the vast Pacific. Even today, carriers remain the ultimate symbol of naval power. The weapon system pioneered in WW2 continues to dominate the seas 80 years later. Conclusion: these 10 weapons defined World War II and changed warfare forever. From handheld infantry weapons to nuclear bombs, from submarines to aircraft carriers, each one demonstrated innovation, effectiveness, and lasting impact. What do you think? Did we get the ranking right? What weapon would you have included? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this countdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more military history content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.